Hey everyone, it's Flora. Welcome back to my channel. Today I will be doing another manga comparison and review of Fruits Basket Season 2. We are now on episode 11, and this episode was so good. It was a little heavy, which I wasn't expecting right after the heaviness that was the beach arc, but it was still great, and I thought they did a great job getting through this part, which sets up the next part of the series, so I'm very satisfied with it. Before I start my comparison, I want to give you all a quick update. So, starting with this comparison for episode 11 and onwards, my manga comparisons will also be manga spoiler-free, which meaning there won't be any manga content that has not been in the anime yet. So, these will be safe, along with my reaction videos, so please refrain from commenting any manga spoilers. If you do decide to, make sure you put spoiler and then a few blanks and then say what you'd like to say. So normally in my previous manga videos, I've done a summary of the chapters, going through the episode and comparing it to the manga, and then I talk about what I expect for the next few episodes, which I do talk about manga spoilers. So I've decided that starting with this video, I'm only going to do the chapter summaries if it's completely different from the manga, and I want you to know what events happen in what chapter. Most of the time, they follow the manga pretty well, and they might rearrange some things, but it doesn't really change the overall plot. So hopefully these videos will now be a little more condensed, and I'll be able to get them out easier. And if I have extra time at the end of the week, I'll still do the manga spoiler chat and what I think will happen in the next few episodes, but I'll probably combine that with a video where I look at the preview images that are released on Fridays. So those videos will have manga spoilers in them. But as for my reactions and manga comparisons, they will now be spoiler-free. Episode 11 starts with chapter 66, which is the beginning of volume 12 in the Tokyo Pop manga, and it has also content from chapters 67 and 68. Alright, let's get started. With the beach arc ending in last week's episode, episode 11 begins a new shift in the series. Everyone is now back from their vacation and summer break is nearing its end. After recent events and revelations, it's clear that what happened at the summer home has affected these characters, and we're starting to see that unfold now. This episode was just as emotional as the few before, and provided some great backstory, new goals, and even closure for characters before moving forward in the series. I love the character development in this episode, and it really blew me away with seeing how much these characters have grown. Episode 11 starts off with a completely added scene that was not in the manga, of Kagura thinking about what she plans to tell Kyo. Her mom's dialogue acts as a nice transition to remind the audience of everyone returning from the summer home, and moves the plot forward to post-beach arc content. Overall, I like this added scene, and it incorporated some of Kagura's internal dialogue from the beginning of chapter 68, which I thought was very smooth. After this is the first scene of chapter 66, with everyone returning home to see that Ayame has made himself right at home while they were gone. I always enjoy his scenes, and I think the humor was much needed after some heavy episodes. There is some skip dialogue on the first page that wasn't mentioned in the anime, where Shigure says, "No, I'm sure of it. Yuki and Kyo have both gotten taller." And Yuki replies, "Really? It's hard to tell myself." And then Toru says, "That's right. Maybe their uniforms have gotten a little small too." Kyo turns to Toru and says, "I think you've gotten shorter. Want to measure?" And then when Shigure speaks again, this is where the scene in the episode starts. This scene with Ayame was overall done really well, and what was shown matched the manga. It was a great example of condensing a scene but still giving it justice. Some examples of extra minor dialogue are Toru worrying about if a burglar got in while they were gone, since Shigure didn't lock the door. And Ayame interjects saying, "That's right, they would read Kyo's love poem diary." Kyo gets flustered and annoyed, and there's some more funny lines of Ayame that are minor and they just skip them. In the anime, it doesn't show who Toru's talking to on the phone, but in the manga we can see that it's Kunimitsu. And when Ayame says he'll hug Toru, at the very end Shigure says, you know Aya, you'll just transform. You don't mind?" The next scene in chapter 66 is skipped for now, so it goes straight to the scene with Toru and Shisho at the end of the chapter. The conversation between them follows the manga exactly, and it was so well done. This is a really important discussion for Toru to learn more about Akito and the curse, and that Shisho is now aware that Toru knows about Kyo's confinement. Now that we've learned about the Zodiac members being unable to defy Akito due to the curse, it's interesting to see the perspective from other characters that are outside of it. The anime did add this, a metaphor with the bird here when they're talking about Kyo. I thought it was a nice touch. The anime also changed the shot of Akito. I do like this visualization, but to be honest, the manga is a little bit darker. If you look closely at this panel, you can see a dead bird lying on the ground, and Akito dropping some bloody feathers. So I think it's implying that Akito just killed that bird. There's something wrong with you, Akito. Their conversation is followed the same until Shisho brings up Akito. There's a minor but cute moment in the manga. When he's talking, Shisho suddenly stops and says, I forgot to serve you tea. So he tries to get her some tea, and he can't do it, so Toru gets flustered and helps make it. And then they continue talking and waiting for the tea to brew. Also, when Toru remembers her mom when she thinks about how bonds are sacred, she also remembers the moment where Momiji told her, because that is the curse. At the end of their conversation, Shisho tells Toru that he's sorry he couldn't be of more help, and she tells him not to apologize. And this next line is skipped in the anime, but in the manga, he thanks Toru for being concerned about Kyo, and she blushes a little and gets flustered. This isn't in the anime, but there's some additional dialogue in the manga after this of Shisho. He thanks and remembers a woman saying the words, but it's just too pitiful, isn't it? This will be explained later. And then he thinks, I'm being very selfish. I keep using this girl, but what is it exactly that I want? What am I looking for? Whatever happens, we Soma have no one to blame but ourselves. Because we can do nothing to change things, we have sunk into a dark world. We are powerless. I think this line shows how people in the inner Soma family, even if they're not cursed themselves, they're still weighted by the clan's history and secrets. The last line he says is mostly the same, but while the anime seems to mention the Somas in general with Shisho's words, the manga seems to focus more on Kyo when he says, I pray that the time he spends with you will become his support and that he'll form a new bond. The next scene with Kagura and Kyo is followed pretty much the same, but the setting is a little different. In the manga, Kagura is looking at Kyo from afar in his karate gi when he's looking down at his rosary, so it kind of adds some heaviness to the moment, and then once Kagura walks up to him, that's when they start talking. But in the anime, he's just walking home and she runs into him. After this scene, Toru leaves Shisho's place. But before she runs into Rin, there's some additional details in the manga. It recaps Toru saying goodbye to Shisho when she's walking home, and he asks her, is Kyo aware that you know about his confinement? And she says, no, I haven't told him. So while she's walking home, she thinks about what she can do about the curse. Shisho told her to just be herself, and she remembers her mom saying those same words, and also Yuki at the beginning of the story. But then at the end, another memory pops up of Kyo, back when she was sick, and he made her the food, and he tells her about her hera hera expression, or silly expression that she always wears. The scene is interesting, and it kind of shows that she's deep in thought, and then she runs into Rin. The scene with Rin is followed exactly the same, except their outfits are different. In the manga, they're in their school uniforms because they're actually going back to school now. So remember that scene I mentioned that was skipped in the anime? That was them being back at school, so I'm sure it'll show up in a later episode. The next part with Rin seeing Shisho is actually really important. It reveals that Rin is also trying to find a way to break the curse. This was followed pretty much exactly, and I really love how the anime does Rin's eyes. They're so mesmerizing. I think the Tokyo Pop manga clarifies the scene a little bit more though, with the line being slightly different. So in the manga, after Rin asks Shisho why Toru was there, he says to ask the same question you did. So it's already implying that she's already asked Shisho about the curse, and that confirms that that's what she's up to. In the manga, after Yuki learns about Toru running into Rin, he also has a quick panel where he wonders if he could meet her if he went to her school. So it's kind of hinting that maybe Yuki wants to see Rin about something. The anime added such a cute animation after Kyo gets home. When Toru is running toward him, I love the sound effect. It was so cute. The next scene with Kyo grabbing Toru's face is one of my favorites. I love how this was done in the anime, and I really like Yuki's expression at the end. It was really followed pretty much exactly. There is one extra line in the manga at the very end. When Yuki and Kyo are arguing, Shigure says, maybe I'll use the opportunity to take Toru-kun for myself. And Kyo grabs his face, and Yuki says, I've had just about enough of your pervy comeback, Shigure. Then it continues with Shisho's quote from the end of chapter 67. And like I mentioned before, the content omitted in this episode is mostly minor. It's just really small details and extra funny moments, but I like to see how the anime adapts these scenes and condenses it while still respecting the original. Since the episode already showed the first pages of chapter 68 in the beginning, it goes straight to Kyo and Kagura meeting up. I can't get over how great Kyo looks in his black shirt. They really emphasized in this episode Kyo's growth through his appearance, words, and actions, that he's really maturing and changing as a character. He's no longer that angry cat boy we met in season 1. There's this tragic future hanging over him, and he feels like he's living on borrowed time and just wants to do what he can in the time he has left. The flashback scenes with Kagura and Kyo are so well done. The music was so beautiful, and I'm so happy with how the anime did this whole scene. I know there are some people out there that don't like Kagura much as a character, and I'll admit she's not my favorite, and I used to not like her much years ago, but I definitely like her more now, and I think it's really admirable of her to admit her selfishness and be honest about her feelings. She's opening up to Kyo completely without holding back anything and sharing all of her perspective, despite knowing that she's not going to get what she wants in the end. The manga mentions that along with Kyo's mom not letting Kyo out much after that, Kagura also says that Kyo started to avoid her after that incident, and from that moment on, Kyo kept his distance. But she realizes that she was the one who started distancing herself first. When Kagura says the word kitanai in the anime, it's translated to unclean, which is a correct translation, but I think I preferred the manga's choice when they said dirty. It's such a sad scene, but I really liked how calm Kyo was, and he was very clear with his words in telling Kagura thank you, but he won't fall in love with her and he does not return the feelings, but he still listened to what she had to say and he stayed with her the entire time. Kagura has some more internal dialogue here when she walks away from Kyo. In the manga, she says, "You don't have to be so nice. Either way, I knew it was hopeless. At that time, part of me knew that I'd never be able to truly get close to you. But I still tried to convince myself that I could close the space between us. Kyo-kun, how would you react if I told you that somewhere in my heart, I've given up? Would you cry from relief?" I guess you would. I feel like even though the anime didn't include this internal dialogue of Kagura, you can kind of tell how she's feeling from her expressions alone. They did such a great job, and I was not expecting the opening music to start at this scene, so I got pretty emotional. It was really beautiful, but really tragic. The last scene of the episode is really important for Kagura's character. It shows that she doesn't want anyone to feel sorry for her, and she just needs this time to just take in everything and reflect and get closure so that she can move forward. Overall, I think this episode was done beautifully. At first, I was hesitant that the anime was going ahead with more heavy content right after the beach arc, but I think that this was an important moment to get through so we can have closure before moving forward in the series. Each week, I am blown away with how wonderful this anime adaptation is, and I can't wait to see chapters 56 and 57 in next week's episode. Alright, that's it with my manga comparison. Thank you so much for watching. So like I said before, I will no longer be doing the manga discussion about future episodes in these videos, but if I have extra time at the end of the week, I will be doing that while I look at the preview images on Friday. Let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to chat with you all, and thank you so much for your support so far. If you're interested in following me on any of my social media, I post in the description below, and I also stream on Twitch if you'd like to follow me there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I would love the support. Also, I will be out of town next week, so I won't be doing any YouTube content until the first week of July. So I'll make sure to catch up when I get back. Thank you everyone, bye!